Can I ask you a question?
Certainly.
Have you ever killed a man?
Let's talk about disposal. Now, we have to make that body unidentifiable.
Whoever draws the short straw does it all.
I can't do it. Applying writing 3 weeks in advance, or you're going to end up inside a f***ing bin bag. £500 is what you paid for it. We don't know how much it cost us yet.
Now, I didn't get into this for nothing, so that I could have nothing.
Yeah, and you didn't saw his feet off.
Are you all right?
Oh, yes, I'm fine, thanks.
Come out here and talk to us.
In 1993, director Danny Boyle was given a budget of $1 million to create his first feature-length film. $150,000 was funded by the Glasgow Film Fund and $850,000 from Channel 4. With both the budget factor and the black theme of the story, Boyle decided the film should run for 90 minutes. The opening scene was shot with a 10mm Zeiss lens. He was so happy with the end result, he's since tried to use this lens in all of his films. Dance music hadn't been used extensively in film, and Boyle wanted to incorporate the music with the fisheye style lens. The first time the movie was screened to a live audience, Boyle stated, "You could feel when the music kicked off at the beginning. This was their film, we'd sort of won half the battle." The location shots were filmed quickly over an 8-day period, as Boyle wanted to dedicate as much time as possible inside the flat. In total, shooting for Shallow Grave lasted for 30 days. The story follows 3 flatmates living in Edinburgh, Scotland. Through a vigorous interviewing process, they select a 4th flatmate to live with them, but not long after he's moved in, they discover him dead of a drug overdose. After discovering he left a large amount of cash behind, an ethical dilemma ensues.
Just think about it.
No.
Come on, David.
Things get worse as the men whose money it belonged to come searching for it, and with pressure mounting, the 3 friends start to turn on each other. With budgets and time restraints, Boyle knew he needed a great cast. The 3 principal actors lived with Boyle in a 4-bedroom Glasgow flat. They rehearsed scenes, interviewed and berated crew members in order to build a camaraderie. Boyle stated, "It was a film for people who lived in flats. I think that's one of the reasons it was a success. British people of this time wanted to see something violent, black, cold and funny." Boyle wanted to break down the conventional rule of the audience sympathising with the main characters. The feeling he was looking to create was that of an isolated group of people entirely satisfied with humiliating themselves, each other and anyone who comes into their world. For these reasons, the film was originally titled Cruel. The actual flat used for filming was built in a warehouse and took up the majority of the budget. Boyle was aware with 3 actors giving blazing performances, any other cast member couldn't get blown off the screen, they would need to match them. This was especially true in order to convince the audience the Hugo character would become a major part of the film. Against the advice of others, Boyle cast friend Keith Allen for the role of Hugo.
I'm sorry I'm picking on you, but all of you, and the producer, you're so f***ing dead.
Shut up, Keith. Sorry.
His idea behind this logic, Boyle stated, he felt like a person that was going to move in and take over the film, which is what we wanted. Hugo's suitcase was filled with real money, £1 million that they had hired for the day. Costing a few thousand to hire, the money also came in a suitcase with its own security. There's also a connection between Shallow Grave and Boyle's next film, Trainspotting. Keith Allen portrays the same character in both films, with Trainspotting taking place in the late 80s before the occurrences in Shallow Grave. Boyle divided the film into 3 sections, adding a different character in each to raise tension. The first when we meet Hugo with the money, the second with the 2 villains who are searching for the money, and the third the inspectors inquiring about a burglary that happened to a neighbouring flat. The film draws parallels between Hitchcock's 1960 thriller Psycho, the shock of a seemingly important character's death while also on the lam after stealing money. The painting used was an original by Stephen Conroy, bought on set with its own security through fears it would either be damaged or stole. The early robbery scene at the ATM machine was filmed with an actual camera fitted inside. Cash machines were uncommon in 1993, but nowadays, for security reasons, every machine is fitted with a camera. Boyle made a conscious decision to use knives as the weapons and not guns in order to not Americanize the film. The scene where the three friends carry the corpse down the stairs was used with a crash test dummy. The dummy was equivalent to a real man's body weight, and Doyle believed had they faked it and used something lighter that the audience would be able to tell. This annoyed the actors and created a more tensious, realistic scene. Knowing it would not be resellable, they bought the cheapest car they could afford, with Alex rolling it off a cliff into a quarry. Originally they planned to have it pulled back up. You can see a blue object in the car where the engine would be. This was supposed to inflate and bring the car up so it would be able to be pulled out, but it didn't inflate and they were unable to. The car remains there to this day. The scene where Alex is found by the detectives was originally shot with no dialogue from Alex, but Boyle wanted to stress to the audience Alex was still alive, so he overdubbed the line, "Hello, Inspector."
Hello, Inspector.
After the fight scene, Alex is left wounded with a carving knife lodged into his shoulder. Boyle stated as Juliet was a doctor, she first checked to see if the knife was hitting any vital organs. Realizing it wasn't, she feels fine to leave him there alone, but she must make sure he is not able to pull it out himself. The final scene in which David is dead was shot in a real morgue. In order for Dave to do it, he wanted someone else in there with him talking to him to reassure him. On its release, the film received positive reviews. It was the most commercially successful British film of 1995, grossing 2.8 million worldwide. Danny Boyle realised he had a hit on his hands when the film debuted at the Cannes Film Festival, and the organisers had to set up 3 extra screenings just to meet demand. The film was heavily criticised by some critics for its seemingly cold characters. When questioned about the criticisms, Danny Boyle responded saying that building plausible characters is something that pleases intellectuals, but audiences in general don't invest as much into the characters in the film. Shallow Grave earned Boyle the Best Newcomer Award from the 1996 London Film Critics Circle, and together with Trainspotting led to a critical commentary that Boyle had revitalised British cinema in the early 90s. In my opinion, this is one of the most underrated films of all time.
No, I think you're right. You prick.